Soon, you will no longer walk into this building as mayor.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it. We're gonna walk out slowly. You know, I oftentimes reflect on where I started, and even before University of Houston. You know, I'm a native Houstonian. I was born and reared in Acres Home, okay? And I'm fortunate, as the mayor of the city of Houston, I still live in Acres Home. So I came up in that hood, I still live in that hood. And to come to start there, parents, you know, dad died early when I was 13. Mom was a maid at the Old Rice Hotel downtown, rearing 9 kids. So when I look at where I started and look at where I am to now, you know, this kid has come a long way.
The last time we talked was about your cancer diagnosis.
Yes.
How is your health today?
You know, it's good. I'm constantly being monitored. So, you know, I'm going back on a regular basis and they're checking me out. But I am fortunate, like so many others, to be living here in the city of Houston, the largest medical center in the world, the best cancer research hospital in the world, right here in the city of Houston. And they have done an exceptional job. I mean, I had the surgery back on June 30th of 2022. And then I've gone through the radiation and all of that. And I've been able still to maintain my duties as mayor of the city of Houston, pretty much maintain my schedule with the exception of the 2.5 weeks that I was out on surgery. But even with the radiation, you know, I didn't miss a day and continue to function. So I've been blessed. So when I look around, you know, I don't look around with a sense of pessimism, but quite frankly, Len, I've been blessed. As we say in the church, I've been blessed and highly favored.
I hear you. Your last day as mayor is December 31st.
Yeah, can we move it back?
Does it mean you're retiring?
No, it means that I'm changing seats.
What's next?
That I don't know yet.
So let me throw this out there.
Sure.
If Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee happens to become the next mayor.
No.
Let me finish. Would you run for her congressional seat?
No.
That's a no.
I'm not interested in going to Congress.
Are you interested in politics beyond the mayor's
What
job?
I can say to you is that I'm not running for anything in 2024. You know, when 8 years as mayor, 27 years in the legislature, all back to back. So 35 consecutive years, nonstop of public service. And then with the exception of being mayor, partnering the law firm for 32 years.
So you need a break.
So I'm gonna take a break. How long that break will be is hard to say. If you give me 2 weeks, then you know the engines are roaring. But I will continue to serve. Let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. I'm term limited as mayor. Service itself is not term limited. And quite frankly, you know, you don't have to be in the seat being mayor or be an elected official to serve your city and to serve other people as well. So the service will continue.
Is this the last political office you will ever hold?
No, I'm not willing to say that because quite frankly, you never know what comes down the pike. So I'll leave that to, you know, I'll let God control that. But what I will say is that I will continue to do my best in whatever position I'm in to serve people, for example, in this city, who have been very gracious and supportive of me. So we shall see.
Have you had a vacation in 8 years?
I've taken like 4 or 5 days. You know, I've done that. Nothing long.
Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I like reading. I like writing.
Writing.
Going to, you know, arts. You know, all of those things. Sports. I mean, I don't care what it is, whether it's baseball, soccer, football, basketball, track and field, you know, I'm in it. So I love that.
Does the former mayor still get tickets? Tell the truth.
The former mayor. Look, the former mayor has a mayor's detail. Now, on January the 1st, this former mayor may be at the bus stop in Acres Home.
Stop.
Oh, waiting on your Uber, you know. So, no, you know, things, I fully recognize that come January 1st, things will be different.
You know, there's a saying, Mayor, we learn more from our failures than our success. Can you share a failure and what you learned from it?
You know, I don't know if I classify things as failures. You know, there are a lot of things, there are things that you just can't get to, you know, or things you might not be able to finish. I don't classify those as failures. I think in anything you learn from. We've faced 7 federally declared disasters since I've been mayor. That's a lot. I don't know if any previous mayor has faced as many federally declared disasters during his or her term than I have faced. And then and that's not counting, you know, your pension problems, issues with the firefighters, all of those other issues that are critically important, and then having to do with the day-to-day governance and the core services of this city. So I don't necessarily view things, I don't look at them in terms of failure. You know, I think as a city, we've been able to manage those things very, very well. But in terms of failures, yeah, quite frankly, I haven't spent a lot of time focused on that.
I want to talk about the relationship between the city of Houston and the Texas legislature. You served more than 2 decades.
27 years.
In the legislature, almost 30 years.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
The very same legislature that now challenges elections in the city of Houston, challenges what ordinance you could potentially write.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
It's a different legislature. When I came in, and for the time that I was in the legislature, you could be a Republican, you could be from rural Texas, but you were able to communicate and get things done. People had a listening ear.
And now?
And now things are so divided, polarized. People come in with a set agenda, or they are operating on somebody else's agenda, and facts are no longer important, okay? The realities are out the window. People come in with a set position, they stick to that set position, and irrespective of the facts, the circumstances, the reality, the people that are being impacted by those decisions, people are operating with tunnel vision. That didn't exist when I was in the legislature before. You could stand up at the floor of the Texas House and you could give a speech, and if it made good sense, you literally could sway people. I don't care if they were Republicans, urban, rural, suburban, things that you made a difference. I was the Speaker pro tem, an urban Democrat, under a very conservative Republican Speaker, chosen by the Republican Speaker, mind you, okay, in a Republican-controlled House. I was the Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee, chosen by another Republican Speaker, who called me during the summer and said, look, I'm going to appoint you as Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee because, Sylvester, I want you to serve on the Appropriations Conference Committee because you know the budget, and I need my best minds at the table. So I'm going to make you Vice Chair because that's an automatic seat on the Conference Committee. Those things are not happening today.
You know all the major players in Austin. You know the Attorney General. Mm-hmm. You know the Governor. Mm-hmm. You know the Lieutenant Governor. Mm-hmm. You ever pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on here?
Well, for a few of those people, we still communicate. And we still talk on the phone. And the relationship still exists because those relationships existed over the years. So.
But there are political disagreements.
Well, there are political disagreements. And even in those personal conversations, for example, I would say, you know, doggone well, what you said is not what you mean, okay? Why? And we go back and forth. But the relationship is still there, and it may be surprising to a lot of folk, but those conversations are still taking place. Now, do we leave our homes, for example, and go and make those public and say to Len, let me tell you who I talked to last? No. Those are the relationships that you have. And it's still important to be able to communicate with people, even in those private conversations, because you can still get some things, make some things happen. So that's good. Hopefully, we'll get back to that, because it only the system works best when those relationships are in existence, and where you can be on opposite sides, but it doesn't mean you have to become the enemy of the other. Those were some good times in the legislature. The dividends from those times is still paying off today, but things have become so polarized, so toxic, that people, if they're not strong enough in their convictions and who they are, they yield to the political pressure, and their voices are drowned out, or they just cease, they're very, very quiet.
You talk about not being able to finish some things as mayor.
Yeah.
The city and firefighters have been in a contract dispute your entire time in office. Why hasn't that been settled yet?
Well, the dispute with the firefighters predates me. And the controversy, for example, with firefighters was with the previous administration as well.
And so for your 8 years, though, still no progress?
Because there's one question that I think is important for whoever sits in the mayor's seat to ask. What's in the best interest of the city? When I was in the legislature, for example, I had an A+ voting record with firefighters and the union, okay? But as mayor, I'm the CEO and the manager
of the city.
Of the city. And the question that mayors have to ask, what's in the best interest of the city? You can be my friend, but if you're asking for something that's not in the best interest of the city, it's important for me to be able to say, I respect you, you are my friend, but no. If you ask me for a 29% pay raise in 1 year, and I know the city can't afford that, in order to maintain your friendship with me, should I give it to you and hurt everybody else? Or do I need to be able to say, you are my friend, I hear what you're asking, the city can't afford it.
No compromise, though.
Well, it takes two to compromise. So may not be able to give you 29%, may be able to give you something else. But if you are sticking with what you are asking for, and you're not willing to look at something else, then we're gonna have a problem. I'll give you a case in point. Police officers, when they negotiate, they never leave anything on the table. I've negotiated with police and municipal workers since I've been here. Police officers will come in and their leaders will yell and scream and say, look, Mayor, if you don't respect the police officers and pay us what we work, we will hold a press conference on you, okay? And they're serious, and then you'll go back and forth, and they'll put forth an offer, you'll put forth a counter offer. They'll say, Mayor, that's not enough, that's not enough. Two cases. And then they'll stand up and say, we got a deal. Police officers never leave money on the table. They are hard negotiators, okay? They negotiate very well, but they also understand the financial limitations of the city. So what does it gain for you to get what you want and the city suffers? So there has to be some give and take, but there has to be a willingness to compromise and not ask, for example, the city to give you something that the city cannot afford.
Here's another issue that has been a problem, especially in the last year. We have done countless stories on people who've had water main breaks, low water pressure. They tell us it takes weeks for the city to even answer them or get back to them as to what is wrong. Why is that?
Well, when you've got 500 water main breaks across the city, it's difficult for any city to get back to you the next day or even the next week or the next 2 weeks. During this extreme weather event, and as you know, last summer was extreme weather event, heat. This summer, extreme weather. We had as close to 1,000 water main breaks because the ground is constantly shifting.
Could the city do better?
Well, we have brought on, number one, you have your own internal crews. We've brought on outside contractors, okay, which cost quite a bit. So we've tried to ramp up. When you have aging infrastructure, okay, and you have extreme weather conditions, something is going to yield. And as the ground shifts, these pipes underneath, they break. They break. I don't care who's the mayor is, okay? So, do you want these water main leaks? Do you think any elected official or the CEO want to see water main breaks? But when Mother Nature says that you have these extreme weather conditions, that will impact directly on the shifting of the ground and cause these water main breaks. And so, and oftentimes I say, if you got a water main break, for example, on your street in front of your house, you see it, that's immediate, you want it addressed. I understand that. I got that. And I wish when you call Public Works, we could come directly to your street in front of your house and fix it.
There are people who say they call, they get no response. They call, they get no answer. And then it's 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks.
They certainly are entitled to a response, even if it might be a response that they don't like. So they're certainly entitled to the fact, thank you for calling. We have certainly noted it. And it may take us anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending on how the crews are operating, how fast we can get to you. It may take some time for us to get there. But if, for example, these water breaks are taking place, and you expect for the city to respond just like that, that's unrealistic. It's not going to happen. Not when you have 1,000 water main breaks, and you're working feverishly to get it down to 500. And even this year, for example, in the last few months, we got it down to under 100. And then with the weather conditions, it popped right back up to, let's say, 500 or more. So it makes it very difficult to get to everybody in a timely fashion.
Put yourself in those folks' shoes. You certainly understand the frustration.
I understand the frustration, but I also understand the dynamics of how the system operates.
What is your advice to the next mayor?
Enjoy. This is a great city. And Houstonians are the best. There are some things you can plan for. There are a lot of things that will come that you would not plan for. I didn't plan for 7 federally declared disasters, okay? But you have to deal with those that you don't plan for, and you still have to keep the city running. What I would also say is that you can't please everybody. And if you try, you'll fail everyone. Where you can say yes, and it's in the best interest of the city, fine. But even with some of your friends, you have to be able to say no.
Final question as it relates to your mayorship.
Yes.
Before you walk out the door,
yes,
what do you want to say to the people of Houston?
Collectively, we've done a great job, okay? When you look at this city and where we are, collectively, we have kept a very diverse city together. More so than probably any other major city in the United States, okay? We have addressed the critical needs of our city, and it's never one and done. It's never completed, you know? Because when you're dealing with, for example, with COVID, for example, And it doesn't just come and go, but stay around for 2 years, and even now we're still dealing with it. It can throw certain things off, okay? But even with that, we've proven to be highly resilient.
Mayor, I know you wanted this job for a long time. Some people may not realize that you ran twice before.
I ran
and
three
lost.
times.
So you ran a total of 3 times.
Correct.
So
right.
here you are, you got an opportunity in your hometown. Personally, your thoughts to the people that you have served.
Look, it's been the joy of a lifetime. Len, even with 7 federally declared disasters, pension problems that plagued the city for some 20 years before I got here, which we have addressed in a very meaningful way, okay? 8 balanced budgets, even in some tough times, even before the federal dollars came here. When I walked into the door, $160 million shortfall, when I walked into the door. But we balanced it without laying off one single person.
What you're telling me sounds like a campaign ad for another run somewhere.
Well, what I'm telling you is that success and results speak for themselves. I don't have to make it up. When I walked into the door, unfunded pension liabilities of $8.2 billion. As you and I talk, it's under $2.2 billion and moving in the right direction. When I walked into this door, 4 months in was the tax day flood. City has proven to be resilient. We were the energy capital of the world. As I talked to you the other day, we're leading in being energy transition, okay? When I walked in, it was like 2 cities in one of have and have nots. We've placed more focus on communities that have been underserved and under-resourced, okay? In this year alone, we will significantly improve 22 local neighborhood parks. We were out at 1 today, in 1 year alone. And the last ribbon cutting will probably be mid-December, 22. But we'll get that done, okay? So when I walked in, we had an aging police force. 39% of HPD officers were eligible to retire. 2,000 out of 5,200. And people wonder why it's not growing. It was an aging police force. We've reduced that now to about 28%. Under my administration, we have hired nearly 2,500 police officers. Only second in the history of this city to Mayor Catherine Whitmire. And she was there for 10 years, okay? So what I'm saying is, has it been challenging? Yes. At times tough? Yes. 7 federally declared disasters? Yes. Harvey, COVID, social civil unrest, Winter Storm Uri? Yes. But as we sit here, Houston has proven to be resilient, and we're still moving forward.